Hi, my name is Jose Ariano, and welcome to another episode of Voices of Student U. I'm joined here with Ms. Alex, who is the Director of Learning here at Student U. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get
Glad
started.
to be here.
In your opinion, what are some faults in the school system?
Some faults in the school system, like in America as it stands. So I think one is that the school system as it has been designed was really built foundationally as a one-size-fits-all model. And so like the way that American schooling has been designed has been to affirm and enhance like one really specific type of academic skill set that I don't think is always indicative of all of the different ways a person can be smart. And so I think the school system has been designed to support a really specific type of learner and thinker. And in a lot of ways, it has been designed a lot on, honestly, white norms. And so I think the way that it's designed is really specifically for a really specific type of brain and learning. And that specific type of brain and learning is great, but it's not the only brain and style of learning and set of strengths that exist in the world. And so I think that's one, it's just like the way the system was designed isn't going to meet the needs of a variety of people.
If you could change anything about the school system, what would it be and why?
Yeah. My quick answers here are I would want to pay teachers more. I would want to pay educators more so that really solid educators would stay in the profession. It's really hard to keep wanting to be a teacher in America, and especially in North Carolina. Teachers are very underpaid, and I think that students deserve like really high quality, thoughtful educators, and the reality is that those people exist and a lot of them are leaving the classroom because the job is unsustainable. Two, if I could change anything, like you're giving me free reins, I would want to make all class sizes smaller. I have been a teacher. I was a fourth grade teacher in Durham Public Schools. It's really hard to lean into the individual strengths and needs of your students when you have 30 people in a classroom. It gets even harder when you're teaching in a middle school or a high school and you have 36 kids in your class and that group of kids is rotating every 45 minutes, right? And you're getting a new set of kids. It's really hard to learn your students and meet their needs. And so I would pay teachers more. I would make class sizes smaller. I would implement, if I had all the money in the world, I would implement really robust and amazing pre-K, universal free pre-K education for really young kids. The reality is that there are kindergartners, when kindergartners walk into a school based on their life experiences and the communities that they grow up in, they're already at such varying levels of like reading, math, things like that, that there are students that are like already somewhat behind when they enter kindergarten, and they're a kindergartner, right? It's not their fault. Like, we don't have affordable and accessible childcare for students younger than 5 in our country, and I think we need like universal, robust, play-based pre-K where really young kids, where like families can work and send their kids somewhere that's really wonderful, that's setting them up for success in the future. I think those are years that we just pretend, lawmakers like to pretend don't matter as much, and they're actually really instrumental. So those are my answers off the top of my head.
So, do you think that those changes would lead to more successful students?
I would hope so, or else I wouldn't make them. I think so. I think it goes back to how you define success for students. Like, we are still in school defining success is, can you master all these math skills? I would love to see a shift in schools to, here's one way to be, like, we do want you to know the basics, right? I don't think you get rid of the basics, but I would love schools to become a place where you get equally affirmed for your math skills as you do your communication skills, as you do your ability to like work in a group of people, as you do in your ability to play this instrument. Like, I would love schools to become a place where there is equal value amongst skills, not just this linear academic skill set.
Are you a parent, Ms. Alex?
I am. I have 2 kids.
Do you have any concerns for your child's education?
That's a really good question. And I think there's some nuance here. I don't currently worry about my students in school, but I I think that has a lot to do with their identities and the world in which they're growing up. I am raising two young white girls in the American school system in the South, and I think that actually matters. Like, my kids entering a public school are not up against the biases and the racial biases and the school to prison pipeline, all of these systemic issues that affect so many demographics of people. I think my daughters are protected from because of their skin color in this country. And so in one way, I'm like, no, I think they're actually going to be okay. I do worry about as more teachers leave the profession because they're underpaid and schools get overcrowded, I'm like, oh, are my girls going to be in a classroom of 45 kids when they're in first grade, But I think they'll be okay. My ultimate goal for my girls in school is to learn how to be a part of a community.
All right. Do you think students should have a voice in the kinds of classes they take?
I think it should be a place where you can explore your interests and have choice over how you're spending your time. I am also a teacher, so at the end of the day, I'm like, I also think you do need to learn the math. I'm not on the thing of yeah, you should get to opt out of math completely if you're not feeling it. It's yeah, you have to learn these basic skills, but schools should also be a place where you can explore and learn about yourself and spend time doing things that make you feel like the best version of yourself, whatever that may be.
All right. Do you think that places like Student U fills in the gaps where the school system is lacking, for example, tutoring and outside support?
Yeah, I think so, and I hope so. There are a few things Student U offers that not that aren't happening in schools, but that because we're a smaller program that's outside of the school system, we have the leniency to do. So things like building smaller pockets of community and spending time on community building without having the stress of standardized tests, right? We can focus on big meet and greet or go off track a little bit without worrying about we're going to be measured on how our kids meet these standardized tests, right? So I think we have that. I think we have the time and space to offer things like tutoring, individualized attention, support, building skills that schools aren't necessarily teaching, how to ask for help, who to ask for help, how to backwards plan this project. So I think we offer some I hope we offer some community and individual attention that isn't consistently offered in school, not that it's not. And I hope that we are able to fill in some practical things like tutoring, homework help, internship opportunities, things like that schools aren't necessarily able to offer to every student with the way things stand.
All right. Final question. Do you think the school system can cause other problems to students and teachers, for example, stress and anxiety?
Yes, 100%. I think to students and teachers. I think it kind of goes back to the way it was built is pretty linear and black and white, and you take this standardized test and that is the measure of who you are, and I think that that's really counter to being a whole human. And so I think it can be stressful to be a 14-year-old taking and juggling a lot of classes while you also have a full life outside of that. And the world is hard, especially right now. There's a lot going on, and also feeling the pressure of I have to get all this work done and meet these tests. That's really stressful. I also think teachers have a really stressful job, and so I see students and staff members feeling burnout from school and experiencing a lot of anxiety, experiencing a lot of stress. And I don't think that's true for every person in a school building, but I think school as it stands can lead to stress, anxiety, overwhelm because of the way that it's structured. Also, a hope of Student U is that we're slowly inching towards a better future for schools, not just doing good work at Student U, but figuring out how can we shift Durham Public Schools or the school system in North Carolina, in America, to better meet the needs of students so that we don't necessarily need to exist. Not that we don't want y'all here, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
That's all the questions I have for you today.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.